by selling me being an addict to another addict. Because I didn't know. I didn't know nothing but drug addiction my whole life. And 2015, well, I went to prison, long story short. Went to prison, got out, still getting high. I stayed high the whole time I was in prison. But I got out, and I was at a friend's house one night, and I met this woman. And she was getting high too. It's my wife now, but she went to prison. I went to prison. I was unfaithful to her the whole time she was in prison. And in 2015, my little son was killed by a freak accident. And I didn't have the guts to blow my brains out, but I wanted to die. And my other kids gave up on me. My family gave up on me. But the whole time, Steph was in prison praying God save him from himself. And I couldn't OD. I tried to OD myself because I didn't have the guts to kill myself. And it didn't work because she was in prison praying God help him, save him from himself. I dibble-dabble with God. I did the jailhouse religion thing. And my cousin Tabby, when my son was killed, she come and said, hey, my church took up an offering and they want to pay for everything. I was like, what? Why would they pay for something for me? They don't even know me, you know? And it was this church, New Life Christian Church and World Outreach. The faithful people in this church paid their tithes. That's what I want to touch on real quick. You know, churches ain't just after your money. They help people. They help the people that are lost and hurting. This church here is the best church I've ever been to in my life. But they helped me through that. I didn't even know who they were. I come to Celebrate Recovery one time, and the time Rex and Stony Craft just started running it, and I wasn't ready for recovery because I just wasn't ready. Well, 2015, Steph was in work release, and she said, we can't be together, you're still getting high. She said, until you change, I can't let you come between me and God in my recovery. Which kind of threw me off because everybody else I've ever heard talk about recovery, they were in it, then they were out of it. They were in it, then they were out of it. So I didn't think recovery even worked because I never seen anybody successfully come into recovery and stay sober. So Steph was talking to me about it, and she goes, you need to get help. She goes, you're out there. She goes, and I can't be with you because I can't let nobody get in between me and God in my recovery. And that resonated with me because I'm like, what? Recovery don't work, you know? And I said, all right, whatever, just because I wanted to be with her and I loved her, and even though I was a scumbag and did the things I did when she was in prison. That too, I can't say that, but anyway, we're not going to talk about that. But we got to, I went to the Serenity House. It was raining. I'd been up for, I think, 6 or 7 days. I mean, I was out of my mind. Went to the Serenity House over on Fort Wayne Street, and Hoss told me, I don't want nothing to do with you. He goes, I know your reputation. I know what you're about, you know. And I wasn't in trouble. I was the only guy at the Serenity House that wasn't in trouble or a drug court. And he goes, I ain't got a bed empty. Well, the guys out on the front porch told me there was 2 beds empty. So I walked back in there, and I was like, look, man, there's 2 beds empty. He goes, I don't have a bed for you. So I left, and I didn't know what to do. I was lost, man, because I'd been up. My mind started playing tricks on me, you know, so I thought, well, you know what? So I went to my grandma's house, and Steph was calling me from work release, and I said, he said he ain't got a bed empty. She goes, you need to go back up there. So I prayed. I was like, all right. So I went back up there the next day, and I said, man, I know you got a bed open. I really want to get clean, and I can't. And he said, all right, you got 30 minutes to go get all your stuff and come back here. Well, my grandma lived a 45-minute walk, you know? But I made it there and back. But Well, I made it there, and then Steph called and said, what happened? I said, I got accepted, but I don't have the money to get in there. I said, I'm going to try to get the money around. Well, we hung up the phone, and she called me back and said, hey, I want to pay for you to go to the Serenity House. So I met her at the Center Lake Park, and on that stage there at the park is where I surrendered my life to Jesus Christ. For real. I mean, I've never been so sincere about anything in my whole life. But I did not want that lifestyle anymore. Well, I went to the Serenity House, got through it all, stayed clean and sober for quite a long time, going to church every day, 7 meetings a week for probably over 5 years. And I started skipping meetings. And then once I started skipping meetings, it got easier to skip the next meeting, and then the next meeting. And the next thing you know, I'm skipping a church. Then I'm skipping church again. The next thing you know, I got a needle back in my arm. I relapsed. And Steph about destroyed my marriage. Steph wanted to leave. Well, because I relapsed, she fell. You know, in the Bible, it talks about where Eve was, she was suckered by the devil. And when she ate the apple, she took it to him, and he ate the apple too. You know, same thing with a marriage. When one falls, it's almost a guarantee the other is going to fall if they're not careful and they're not walking out their program. Well, we got back into things, and my grandma got real bad sick. And the last 10 days of her life, she got to see me clean and sober. And yeah, it was cool, because she lost faith in me, you know. And she, at her deathbed, she told me she was happy that she got to see me clean before she died. This thing is a generational curse, man. My dad was an addict. My grandfather was a drunk addict. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on. And today I broke that generational curse in my family. We don't have the power to change. We have the power to surrender. God's power is to change. He gives us the power to change. We've been staying faithful with our tithes, and we don't do it just as for a blessing. We do it because God entrusted us with a whole lot, so He requires a whole lot, you know. And He got me clean and sober, so my passion today is to help the next person that's fallen and can't get back up. Because I've been there. I've been there with the relapse over, you know. We got to be there for each other, man. I have to put as much time into staying clean and sober as I did chasing the dope man down. When I first got into recovery, I had a list as long as my arm of numbers that I had of people that I could call, because I wanted it that much that I didn't want to relapse again. I didn't want to fall again. So I reach out to people today that I didn't used to. This is a deadly disease if we're not careful. If we don't get our lives right with Jesus Christ, it ain't going to work anyway. You know? Without Him, we don't have nothing but just failure. Nonstop relapse, nonstop. What time I was in the Serenity House, I got out, and there was 36 guys in the 2 houses, and there's only 2 of us today that are clean and sober. And over half of the rest of them we buried in the ground because of relapse for heroin. And it's a very serious thing. I want to read a few things here real quick. People are watching us, man. We're the only recovery that they see. You know, when we say we're clean and sober and we're going to meetings, I did the same thing. I watched them because I didn't want to get high anymore, but I didn't know how to quit getting high. So when I found somebody that said they were clean and sober, I'd watch them. It wouldn't be long, Just like saying we're a Christian. People watch us, We can either bring a lot of people with us to recovery in Jesus, or we can turn them away. And we have to answer to that too and live with that guilt, shame, and remorse. It says in Luke 12:48, it says, "For everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded. From the one who is entrusted with much, much will be asked." We've been entrusted with a lot, each and every one of us that are clean and sober today, to help the one that ain't and they don't know how to get home to be where they need to be at with the Lord in recovery. I had to cut ties with my own son because today I don't want to relapse. I can't have people around me that are getting high. I first got into recovery, I wanted to save everybody. And that's what made me fall. I was doing really good, and then I started going around the wrong places because I just wanted it so much for him. And the next thing you know, we're getting high, man, because I wasn't going to meetings like I was supposed to be going. I wasn't going to church like I was supposed to be going, and I was putting myself in the devil's backyard. The next thing you know, I'm high, and it's just really rough when you got to cut ties with your family. But you know what? It's either cut ties with them or join them, and then you lose everything you'd worked so hard to achieve, And there was something else. Psalms, I wanted to go over one more thing here. Let me find it. Sorry, guys. I thought I wrote it down. Hold on. Can you hand me my phone real quick? Hold on one second. Sorry about this, guys. I thought I had it together a little more than this. Right. I want to really read something. I was at work the other day, and I was fixing a compactor. And God brought this to me, and I really want, and it pertains to each and every one of us. He said, "He lifted me up out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and the mire. He set my feet on a rock, and he gave me a firm place to stand. He put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to our God. Many will see what he's done for us and fear the Lord and put their trust in him." That resonated with me this week. It really, especially I look back where he brought me out of. And it's just, I would have never dreamed that I've been where I am today. My daughter is back in my life again. My granddaughters are coming around. All my family's saved. God, restore your land if you're faithful and if you're obedient and if you just surrender all to him. And that's where it starts, is wholehearted surrender. And I guess I'm done, man. I just love each and every one of you guys, and thank you guys for coming out. Oh, no, I'm not. Sorry. We admitted we were powerless over our addiction and compulsive behaviors, and that our lives had become unmanageable. I knew that from Jump Street, and I didn't know how to manage it. We came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. I came to believe that because my best thinking got my needle in my arm and ruined my whole entire life. We made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God. I do that on a daily basis. I surrender every thought that I have, every pain. We made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. I do that on a daily basis because that's what keeps me sane. That's what keeps my heart right with God. We admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. We have to do that too because we're only sick as our secrets. We're entirely ready to have God remove all of our defects of character. That's a nonstop thing for me because I have a lot of defects because I shoved it underneath the rug for getting high. Denial. We humbly ask Him to remove all of my shortcomings. I have to do that on a daily basis. We made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. I became willing, but I never did. We made a direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. And that's when I became willing. We continued to take a personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. I still struggle today with that, but I'm getting better. We sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. I have to do that on a daily basis. Having had a spiritual experience as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to others and to practice these principles in all of our affairs. And that's what we do today when we get up and tell people, hey, man, I've been there. I know what you're going through. Here's my story. Hopefully you can learn something from it. Keep coming back, and we love you.
And what Richard failed to mention is, if you do not know, he is our new men's